But if you had it, it would make things more fun. So we happen to be doing some little projects around here, and we have a 2x4 sitting around, or like part of a 2x4. Even if you just have like a 2-foot section, that would help. Or if you have something to balance on, that would be helpful for sure. If not, it's not a big deal because we can do what we're going to do without it. Okay. Turns out we have a 2x4 and a pretty pink soft beam. So we can use both of those. All right, well, let's get started on the floor here. And we're just going to sit and give your knees a little bit of a hug. So we're laying down on your back here. Give your knees a hug. And just starting to roll around a little bit on the flat part of your lower back. So your sacrum, that flat part that sort of turns into your tailbone, is actually a bunch of vertebrae fused together, and there's like holes through it, so there's lots of nerves running through there. So by rocking back and forth, a lot of times the reason this feels so good is because you're sort of massaging those nerves, and if you have any back pain or anything like that, sometimes this can feel really good just to kind of turn those nerves down a little bit. It also allows us to be a little bit more flexible. All right, so now let's take your knees. We're still going to be kind of tilting side to side on your sacrum, on your low back, but let's take your knees and just draw little circles with them. If you want a good ab warm up here, we can just go hands free. And let's go the other direction. All right, so we're going to roll side to side here. You're going to go as far as you can without falling over. All right, so you're going to go as far as you can. Try not to use your elbow as a kickstand, but we're just rocking side to side. Relax your head if you can. So this is a little bit of like core control. It's also sort of a sneaky way to roll out without using a roller. And finally, let's just start rocking a little bit here. So really gently here, especially in the morning. Want to make sure that we're not over flexing anything, but just rocking back onto your shoulders and coming forward. If you can, let's bring it forward and stop before those heels hit the ground. So we try to sort of balance on your butt. And then go hands free. So instead of hugging your knees, try to do it hands free. All right, let's go ahead and roll right up. So we're sitting up tall. We're just going to bring knees in, or feet in, give them a cross. You're sitting up nice and tall. You should get a stretch in your hips here. As you're sitting cross-legged, you're going to turn around and look behind you. So just walk your way one direction, take a look, and we turn the other direction. And let's repeat that. So we go the first side. Make sure you're sitting tall here, so don't let yourself slouch. We want to sit as tall as you can. Top of your head up to the ceiling, sitting up tall on your butt bones. And switch one more time. And good. Let's switch the cross of your legs. So you're sitting up nice and tall again. Getting a little bit different stretch in your hips. Then let's turn and look behind you. You can use your hands here if you need to kind of walk yourself around. It'll definitely give you a little bit better stretch. And let's switch to the other side. One more time. And one last time. And good. Let's just turn one hip out. So we're here. We're just going to lean over that front leg. Trying to get nice even pressure on both elbows here. Pushing both elbows down through the floor. You can adjust the position of your foot if you need more of a stretch. If you need more of a stretch, you'd be pulling your foot away from you. And with your hips like this, let's walk away. So we turn away from your back leg. And good, let's switch sides. Crossing your legs again. And we flip the one out. So we end up on the other side. Putting those elbows on the ground. Nice even pressure through both of them. And come on up, let's rotate away from that back leg. And good. Let's come on up to two knees. So we're kneeling nice and tall. Tall kneeling, so trying to stack everything right up on top of each other. Keeping your, remember, like if your pelvis is like if the opening of your pelvis, the top of your pelvis is like a bowl, we want that bowl to be level. So try to maybe pull your tailbone down a little bit, staying nice and tall here. Okay, so then from here, you're gonna have your toes curled under. We're just sitting down onto your heels. What we're doing here is stretching out the big toe. You want to make sure that that your big toe is not pushing into the middle. So if you think we don't want it to be pushing to the midline, we want it to have its own space. Your big toe shouldn't be touching other toes at this point. So if it helps, you can kind of take a look back there, put your big toe on the ground, and then move your feet apart. So we want to mobilize that. Make sure it's got its own space. Okay. All right, from here, now we're going to put the top of your foot on the ground and we sit down onto your heels. Some people can sit comfortably like this. I'm not one of them, but it does give me a big stretch down the front of my shins and down all those tendons along the top of my foot. All right, from here, let's bring your toes back under you. And we come up tall. So we're just gonna repeat through that. So we go tall, sitting on your heels, or yeah, sitting on your toes, then sitting on the top of your foot. And we work our way back up. So we'll just work our way through that a couple times. Work at your own pace. So when you feel like you get a good feel for the position, then you can switch. So if any of this is hard on any particular joint. Obviously, we want to try to limit the stress there. We want to see if you can get into as big a range of motion as you can, but we want to limit the stress. So instead of, like, if it hurts your knees to sit on your heels, then you may be able to take some weight off of that. We still want to try to get the range of motion, but we don't want things grinding around. Let's go through one more time here. One thing to think about as you're sitting on your feet with your toes pointed out behind you, try not to let your heels just turn out to the side too much. Your heels should be underneath your butt cheeks. Okay. All right, from here, let's go to all fours. We're going to bring 1 foot forward. So part of the circuit today is going to be a kind of get up that we call Spiderman Get Up. So what it looks like is it looks like from the floor, it would be a push up and then bringing 1 foot forward and under you. So this is a Spider-Man stretch. And from here, that's actually, I'll show you on this side. This is why we call it a Spider-Man Get Up, because you're here. And then from there, we're just going to push up to standing, back down. So your hands kind of leave the ground at the same time. And we push up with that leading leg. So I just want to spend some time here with your knee on the ground. We'll do a Spider-Man stretch for a minute, just to get into that position, make sure everything's ready to go. So you think here, if you were lying on the ground, like if you were laying on your belly or even down on your elbows, this would be useful just to bring, you'd be just sort of standing up and moving on. So getting up from the floor is actually a really complex thing and takes a lot of strength, a lot of mobility, a lot of flexibility. So we want to work on that as much as we can here with these. Okay, switch sides if you haven't yet. As you're doing this stretch, you can leave your back knee on the ground, or you can bring it up, either one. Just know that, for the get up, for the Spider-Man Get Up, you'll be using your fingertips. You're going to push off the ground. Okay, when you push off the ground, you're sort of helping yourself out of the very bottom of this. It's kind of like a really deep lunge. Okay, so let's practice a few of the get-ups. What you'll do is you'll bring your foot up next to you. You can leave your back knee on the ground as we're starting to get the feel for it. But from there, you're going to push with your back foot and your fingertips and just help yourself come up. And then whatever leg was back, you'll just take that leg straight back. And then we switch when you're at the bottom, using everything to push up. Make sure you're using your fingertips and your back foot to help you push up. So when you bring your foot up under you, you're going to bring it up. Your knee is going to be outside your armpit. Your foot's going to come up, if not right next to your hand, pretty close to it. And then everything comes up at the same time. Okay. All right, so that's the circuit. But that's what we're doing. One of the movements for the circuit. We've got 3 movements to do. Another one, like I said, if you have like a piece of 2x4 or, geez, I can't think of anything else. We also happen to have a kid's balance beam here, like a squishy foam one. I don't know how many people have those lying around, but we're going to do a pivot turn. Like I said, you can do this just as easily without the beam. All right, so if you're standing on a beam, a pivot turn would just be you coming up on the balls of your feet and turning and facing the other direction. All right, so what I'll add to this is a crouch with it. So we're going to crouch down, stand back up, and we turn. Make sure you can leave your feet planted. Like, you really don't need much room for this. Crouching down, standing up, and turning. Okay, so if you don't have a beam, it's totally fine. Just draw a line on the floor Just have your feet kind of in line, right? So you would turn, it's surprising that you can get the same effect with just lining up your feet, okay? So in the circuit, we've got the Spiderman Get Up, the pivot turn. So if you don't have a beam, you're just kind of stacking your feet up, one right in front of the other. And then we work on that turn, staying tall, and you can add the crouch if you want. So that just means you're going to be sitting on your back heel, stand up, pivot, and we're sitting down on the other heel. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3 is a shoulder crawl. So this is a good way to really start to mobilize your upper back. Think of your shoulder blades like feet here. So you're going to have one foot on the ground at a time, right? If you have both shoulder blades on the ground or both feet on the ground, you're just kind of shuffling along. We don't want to shuffle. We want to take nice big steps. So you put that shoulder blade on the ground and pull down while you're reaching forward or up with your other shoulder blade. And then we walk along using those shoulder blades as feet. Okay. That's going to be kind of limited by how much room you have. So if you don't have much room, just do the best you can with the length of space that you have. But we want to go about 20 feet. We want to make it about 20 feet. So maybe you can go one direction, turn around, go back the other direction. So 3 things. Spider-Man Get Up. I would say you should do the get-ups right after the shoulder crawl, because all it takes is you rolling over and coming up. Okay. So shoulder crawl, get up. Let's crawl 20 feet. Get up. We'll do 3 times each side, and then the pivot turn we'll do 6 times each side. Really, the numbers don't matter here. It's just kind of moving around, moving through these 3 movements. And by the end, we'll have a workout. We're going to go 8 minutes again today. Okay. Just get my watch set. Okay, so starting with whichever one you want, starting 8 minutes in 3, 2, 1, and here we go. So we're just moving through the shoulder crawl, which is on your back, the pivot turn either on a beam or on the floor, and the Spider-Man Get Up. You can crawl the other way with your shoulders, definitely a little bit tougher. If you have long hair, you're gonna have to pull it up over your shoulder or something. If you want to get some more out of the Spider-Man Get Up, you can go all the way down to your belly each time. Nice, Rhonda. That's perfect. I like that. Just happen to have a 2x4 or 4x4 around. So with that pivot turn, you can do the turn as you're tall. So you'd be standing tall, pivoting over, rotating, and then we squat down. You can also do it from the bottom. It's just a lot tougher. So if you're here, you're in that full crouch. You can do the turn from there, but it definitely ups the difficulty level a little bit. Again, you can up the difficulty of the get up if you want by going all the way down to your belly each time. Kind of goes without saying on the shoulder crawl, you're going to be keeping your hips up off the ground the whole time. Right? So you don't want to be dragging your hips along. The less that's on the ground, the less resistance you have, the more easily you're going to be able to crawl. Think of this as I don't know, wiggling your way under the bed for hide and seek or something, or checking something out under the car. Two and a half left, gang. Again, today's just about moving, going through different ranges of motion, working on different skills. It's good to be fit and strong, but this kind of mobility, this kind of practice at just moving around allows you to use that strength more efficiently. Minute and a half left. Last minute. 15 seconds left. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, so let's go ahead and have a seat in that cross-legged position or whatever you're comfortable in. Heart rate may have come up a little bit. So we do want to just take a second here, get into one of these resting positions, and allow things to come back down. If you were sitting cross-legged, go ahead and switch the cross of your legs. You can also sit just with shins parallel to each other. Whatever's comfortable for you, whatever allows you to rest. Just take 3 more breaths here. A little bit quicker recovery on these than a standard circuit day. And good. All right, that's a wrap for us here this morning. We bring it up a notch again tomorrow as we head into the weekend. So hope you guys have an awesome day. And I don't know, it might be crappy weather, but we'll see. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining. See you. Have an awesome day.